Welcome back everyone. You join me on a walk on the beautiful South Downs. I am not far from a place called Peavehaven. What a lovely name, Peavehaven. Where did that name come from? Well, it came after a lot of disabled troops returned home from France and Belgium in the First World War, and there were so many of them, the authorities needed some new towns to house them, home them, rehabilitate them, and you know, many of them will have been suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, which these days we know about. Back then it was seen as mental illness. Yeah, you can see the sea right over down there. That's how close we are to the sea. And today I want to talk to you about my own battle with PTSD, and also about the loss of a very good friend of mine. When I say the loss, I don't mean he's died, but what he has done is left the country. We've been friends for over 40 years, and one of my very dearest and closest friends, in fact. If ever there's been problems, we've always helped each other and you know, been there for each other. And he suddenly rang me up about 6 weeks ago and said that he was thinking about moving to Portugal. And I said, wow, I never thought I'd see you leave the UK. And like a lot of people, he said he just had enough here. You know, he's a businessman, and the recent budgets have affected his businesses badly. And yeah, he just says that life in the UK, especially trying to run a business in the UK, has become impossible for him. You know, he says he feels like he's working just to give his money to other people. I get that. Obviously, in society, we all need to spread the load. You know, the wealthy have got a responsibility to take care of the poor to some degree. That doesn't mean to say that some people should be allowed to not work whilst others that work hard are forced to pay for their laziness. I don't agree with that, but what I do agree with is that we should pay our dues to help people less fortunate than ourselves. And I think over the years he's done more than his fair share of that. I mean, probably given, I don't know, I can only guess, but what he's paid in tax over the years will probably run into, I don't know, probably runs in the millions. But still, it's not enough. They want more and more and more. And he's finally cracked under the strain. So within the next 2 or 3 weeks, my dear friend is also gone. He's going to live in Portugal with his wife and his 2 grown-up kids. They're going as well. 4 beautiful people leaving the UK. Can't take any more. Enough's enough, he said. It's just not worth being here anymore. Those are his words. And I think a lot of people are feeling the same. Going back to Peavehaven, all the troops that were injured and, you know, whatever, after coming back from the First World War, were sent to this town called Peavehaven, and the local paper run a competition back in the day, back just after the First World War had ended. What should this new town be called? It's going to house all of our disabled and distressed veterans. What should we call this town? And a lady from Scotland actually won the competition by suggesting Peacehaven. Later, one word, Peacehaven. Still think it's one of the most beautiful towns, you know, the name of the town, still one of the most beautiful towns I've ever come across. And then as it spread, the town spread, it went into New Haven. So you have Peacehaven, and then when you go on a little bit further, New Haven. And it seems strange that today people, so many Brits, are seeking haven outside of the UK. The irony, eh? So moving on to PTSD. Going to tell you some stuff today that you probably don't know about me, because I've never really mentioned it before. You know, I've mentioned the robberies that I've experienced, you know, when I've been robbed on 3 occasions, you know, you all know about that stuff. But what I haven't told you is after the loss of my mum in 2010, which I took quite badly, you know. I'd already lost my dad at an early age, which I never truly recovered from, but losing my mum, I was an only child, remember, in 2010, for me, from a mental well-being viewpoint, wasn't great. And then after that, in short succession, I experienced 3 robberies, which put me in a pretty dark place. So this is the confession bit. Since 2010, I've been on antidepressants. They help me just, you know, stay emotionally, I don't know what the right word is really. I don't even know what they do. But what I do know is when I've tried to come off them before, you know, you tend to get really sort of dark clouds in your life. You know, you don't really feel yourself. So I've stayed on them now for many years. Not something that I particularly recommend. If you can stay off that sort of stuff, then I think that will be better. You know, it's not something that I'd recommend particularly. But that's what's helped me with my PTSD. And PTSD is a pretty horrible condition. You can't see it, you can't touch it, you can't really explain it. It's there, and it's there all the time. You just can't get rid of it. It's not something that you can, it's not like a headache where you can take a tablet and it goes away. And you never know quite when it's gonna hit you. But it's something that you learn to try and cope with over the years. Some people cope better than others. I would say I'm someone that copes pretty well with it, to be fair. Doesn't actually affect my everyday life. The ways it has affected me is that I am unable to deal, or I'm not very good at dealing with moments of stress. I have a very short attention span, and if someone puts a puzzle in front of me, I don't mean a jigsaw puzzle, but if you give me a form to fill out or a manual to read, I can no longer deal with it. If it's in any way complicated or complex, I can't deal with that anymore. I'll have to get someone else to do it. I don't know, that's the weirdest one of all, because I never used to be like that. It's almost, what's the right word? I don't even know. It's almost like it's made me a bit dyslexic when it comes to completing forms, working out conundrums. I'd say that's one of the side effects of the condition, the PTSD condition. And yeah, I mean, since I've been doing what I've been doing over the last year, there have been times when my wife has said to me, you know, I don't think this is doing you any good, Paul, you know. I've disagreed because I think it's given me like a new lease of life in many respects. But I have now got to understand that I do have to take time out here and there. I do have to get myself back mentally in a good place. Otherwise, I'm not doing my family justice, not doing my viewers justice, not doing myself justice. And this YouTubing larky is pretty goddamn intensive, I've got to tell you. It's fun at times, but it's pretty intensive. What a beautiful view. Let me show you around here. And I think so many of my viewers, a lot of you guys, are older or have experienced things in your life that, let's just say, make you feel a bit vulnerable at times. Big helicopter going over now. And it's an absolute pleasure for me to, you know, be a part of your lives and to hopefully to try and help you through some of the darker times. In many ways, like you helped me get through some of the darker times, because, you know, some of the messages you send me, some of the sincere, heartfelt messages are just so uplifting. You honestly don't know how much they help me deal with life in general. You know, but at my age, I've got to the stage now where I think my number one duty, as it's always been, is my family. That's my number one, you know, the number one thing for me. I love my country, I love the people in it, but obviously I love my family more. So yeah, I mean, I don't even know what today's video is about, really, just giving you a bit of info that you won't necessarily know about me, but it might explain a little bit more as to, you know, why I take these breaks here and there, and need to put certain things to one side, at least for a while, and concentrate on things that are more positive. One of the downsides for me of losing my dad so early, he was 57 when I lost him, bless him. One of the downsides for me is that I've been a bit of a impulsive buyer of things in the past, because I sort of don't want to miss out on things like my dad did. I know there were so many things that my dad wanted to do that he never got around to doing. So in some ways it's made me quite impulsive. You know, if I want a new bike, I'll go and buy it. If I want to go on holiday, I'll do it, even sometimes when you can't afford it. But I keep having it in my head, you only live once, right? Right, I hope you enjoyed that little one-to-one. Bloody hell, it's windy here today. It's always windy on the South Downs. Even when it's nice, it's still windy. I suppose it's coming in off the sea. Right, everyone, love to you all as usual. Stay safe, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day.